You have seen the new Harry Hole Netflix series and you wonder where everything is in Oslo when you want to visit it. We are going to show it. Here we are at Ekebergskrenten, and this is where Harry Hole and Tom Waaler had their shady midnight meeting. And you wonder where that cable car is. It's not real, but we are coming later to that. Since Harry drives to all locations, we are doing the same, but you can visit all locations also by foot and with public transport.
This video contains mild spoilers about locations and scenes in the series. We won't reveal the plot, but if you haven't watched it yet, go do that first. We will be here when you get back. One small thing. Harry drives around Oslo like it's his personal racetrack. If you tried that without a police car, you would lose your license and collect enough fines to fund the next season. Most of the series takes place in St. Hanshaugen. It is one of the city's oldest neighborhoods. The name means Midsummer Hill, because locals used it for bonfires on Midsummer Eve in the 1840s. In the 1860s, over 1,000 trees were planted, making it the first major park outside the city center. Today, this is a residential area with cafes, shops and restaurants. It is not a typical tourist neighborhood, but if you have seen the series, you have seen these streets many times. In the books, Harry lives at Sofies Gate 5, right next to Bislett Stadion. This is a real address. But when you get there, you will see a sign saying the entrance is around the corner. And there is where you will find the door with Harry Hole's name on the buzzer. Fans have been pressing it for years. Nobody answers. The series uses a different building for Harry's apartment. It looks much taller than anything in this neighborhood. It's mostly 4 to 5-story apartment blocks in this area. But this is Harry's neighborhood. These are the streets he walks. And it is just a few minutes from his regular bar. Restaurant Schrøder is probably the most important location in the whole Harry Hole universe. This is his regular bar. In the books. In the series. And in real life, this is a real restaurant that has been here for decades. When the cast was revealed in 2024, the press event was held here. If you go inside, you can sit at Harry's table. It is marked with a sign. The staff told one journalist that they get visitors from all over the world asking for Harry Hole. Ullevålsveien is where one of the murder scenes takes place.
So we are here in the street where the first scene in Harry Hole was filmed. It's in Harald Hårfagres gate, next to the public transport museum here. And they basically drove up and down here, and then a tram comes around the corner and he collides and arrives in Majorstuen station, which was the old one where it still had 3 tracks. Now it only has 2. And here there was actually never tram traffic. It was a yard, so a depot where they stored all the cars. Today is only one building left where the museum is, but you cannot access it anymore because they removed the overhead wires and there is actually no track connection anymore.
Unfortunately, Frognerbadet is still closed at the moment, so we can only drive past it. Vigelandsparken, or Frognerbadet, how the locals call it, appears several times in the series. This is Oslo's most visited attraction, with over 200 sculptures by Gustav Vigeland. Watch our Oslo guide or use the Explore Norway app to know more about it. The Nationaltheatret and nearby Theatercafeen are important in the series. Theatercafeen opened in 1900 inside Hotel Continental, right across the street from the National Theatre. It quickly became the meeting point for Norwegian artists and cultural figures. Since 1924, portraits of regular guests have been painted and placed on the walls. If you want to eat where Oslo's cultural elite has been eating for over a century, this is the place. In the series, Tom Waaler, the corrupt detective played by Joel Kinnaman, has a very expensive apartment at Tjuvholmen. This is one of the most exclusive areas in Oslo. A flat here will cost you several million euros. Someone on a police salary can definitely not afford that, which is rather the point. Another places nearby which appear in the background is Rådhusplassen. In the series you will see that Oslo is off. The creators said they created a Gotham version of Oslo. But if you look when the books were written in the late 1990s and early 2000s, it shows the vibe of the time. The infrastructure was old and the streets were rougher. You had, for example, street prostitution in Lower Karl Johan next to the train station. So they use CGI and color grading to bring that vibe back. Behind Oslo Domkirke, you will find the Basarhallene. These arcades were built between 1840 and 1859 in neo-Romanesque style. They were originally butcher shops, built to improve the meat trade that had been happening at Stortorvet. Today, the Basarhallene houses small craft shops and cafes. Most tourists walk right past them, which is a shame because they are one of the oldest commercial structures in Oslo. In the series, this area is used for some of Waaler's more discreet meetings. The place is actually in the middle of the city, where it's really busy. The Barcode area is used for office scenes throughout the series. In episode 5, the Aftenposten newsroom is placed here at the end of Dronning Euphemias gate. In reality, Aftenposten is in Akersgata, on the other side of the city center. In the series, there is a building called Villa Valle right next to the train station. It plays a significant role in the plot. Villa Valle does not exist. In reality, the land it sits on belongs to Skate Øst. And here is a fun detail. In some establishing shots, they forgot to add the CGI, so Villa Valle mysteriously disappears and reappears throughout the series. Akerselva appears in several episodes. The river runs through Oslo and divides the city into east and west. Several scenes were filmed around Hausmann's Bro and other bridges along the river. This area is also worth visiting for the restaurants and bars along the waterfront. Also here you find more details in our Oslo video. In contrast to the series, it's a safe place and people canoe on the river. The only trash you find is when someone throws an electric scooter in the river.
So I'm here at Berners plass. This is where one of the murder happens, the one in the incasso company. And it used to be a bad region in the 80s and 90s, but it got much better. They revamped everything. And the place used to be called the Red Place, not because of political reason, but because there were so many traffic lights.
In the series, the police station is next to a motorway. But the real Oslo police station used in the books is at Grønlandslæret 44, in Grønland. It is not next to any motorway. Also next to the police station is Boxerbar. The Enerhaugen cafe next to the station had its exterior changed.
We are now in Kampen, and this is Kampen Kirke. It's not used as such in the series, but you see it several times on establishing shots. And Kampen is also the showplace of one of the murder. It happened in one of these typical brick blocks you find everywhere around the city, not just here, but also in Grünerløkka, Torshov, or a bit farther out like Sinsen and so.
Maridalen appears in episode 8. This is a valley north of Oslo and the source of the city's drinking water. It is a popular recreation area for locals but rarely visited by tourists. Watch our video about the Maridalen High Five if you want to explore the area. This series has several other locations. Bogstadgård, an old farm north of Oslo. They speak about Sognsvann, but they show something else. The cemetery scene should probably show for Fresel Gravlund, but might be filmed somewhere else. Willy Barley's apartment, at least the exterior, was filmed in Markveien. The cabin was built specifically for the shoot in Rellingen east of Oslo. You won't find it in Nordmarka, but Nordmarka is still worth visiting. It just involves a lot of hiking. Rakel's house is located in Fjellstrand on Nesodden, but it's a private home, so don't go there.
So we have reached the end of the Harihula tour of Oslo. This is where the end scene was filmed, here at the Ekebergsparken. And there's one thing we need to discuss, and that was the cable car I promised at the end. As you see, there is no cable car here. And the idea has been floating around since 1883. And the last time it was brought up was in 2013, when the Ekebergsparken opened. Because the investors said, Christian Ringnes, oh, I'm going to pay for it. but some politicians didn't like that, so it got killed in 2021. And we will see how final that is, or if it gets resurrected in a couple of years. And if you watch the final scene with the gondolas, there is one thing you will notice maybe, that how this gondola passes the pylon is physically not possible. It looks nearly that visual effect has been done with an AI. For a series with such a big budget, hiring like every known Norwegian actor, I would expect a little bit more. If they had watched my video about Voss, then they would know how to model correctly one of these gondola. So we hope you will have a good time visiting Oslo, and if you want to see more about the cities and Harald Hårfagres, then watch of these 4 videos.